everybody, welcome back to Recordology. Okay, some time back, like months ago, not years ago, we did a video about a little thermal printer, the type that's designed to print, as its primary use case, 4x6 shipping labels. But I had a thought that maybe it would make a good label printer. Now you may be saying, why don't I just stick with my regular label printer? If you have one, by all means, do so. But if you need both devices, a shipping label printer and a label printer, and you don't want to buy both, or you already have a thermal printer for shipping label use, and you may be saying, wow, I didn't think I could use it for that as well. Well, I did. I made a video, which I'll link down below, about the shipping label maker, and I made labels for all of my record dividers behind me. And I wanted to do a follow-up. I promised a follow-up in that original video, and this is the fulfillment of that promise. I just want to show you how it's been. Did it work perfectly? Were there issues along the way? And the answer is a little bit complicated. You're not going to want to miss this.
Two sleepy people.
Okay, this is also kind of an opportunity to share some parts of the collection with you guys. This stuff, I think you've seen most of this before, so I'm not going to title this video like collection tour or anything like that. But yeah, I wanted to show you how these labels have worked out. Now again, these came off the little 4x6 printer. I printed them off. I designed them in just like a thumbnail making app that I have, but you can use anything that can generate text. I just wanted contrasty, black and white, nothing fancy, no graphics, although I could have done that, like a little icon next to each one. But really I wanted to just test it out. Would it adhere? The trick is, is it sticky enough to adhere? In the case of these dividers are a matte texture. This probably will not come across on camera, but it's not totally smooth. That's actually got sort of a textured texture. I don't know how to say that. It is textured. And because it's textured, I actually thought that would impede its ability to adhere. But they went on smooth and they've stayed that way. And this is the best part about these so far in my experience, is that they do stick to these dividers really, really well. And I can only imagine that if you did have shiny, glossy dividers or paper dividers, that they would stick equally well to that. Okay, so here's a close-up shot. They're very high contrast, which works really well for this, but if you wanted color, they're black and white. I just want something that's high contrast, easy to see. They are matte finish, but that's dictated by the paper. The paper, thermal paper, if you've never seen thermal paper, it's kind of like old thermal receipts, where the paper actually contains the ink, essentially. I mean, it's a little bit more complicated, but it's essentially heated, superheated with the printer, and the ink or toner or whatever is built in and shows up based on heat. Also, if you pop these in the oven, turned up the heat to 400 degrees, or it probably doesn't even take that much, but if you were to turn up the heat on these super, super hot, they would just go solid black. But yeah, so there's no color and there's not really any good gradient grays in between unless you dither the image, but that all depends on the app that you're using. So I wanted to show you the adhesive. So the adhesive is kind of a lightweight adhesive. I mean, it's sticky. It feels like about the same level of adhesiveness as a sticker, just like a recreational sticker. Is that a thing? Recreational sticker? Professional recreation? Just like a sticker. A sticker like when you were a kid that you would put in your sticker book. I never had one of those. All that to say that it's worked pretty good adhering to this, but it's really designed to adhere to paper. Obviously, it's a label for shipping. That's the idea. We're just kind of bending the rules a bit. But if I zoom in a little bit here, the labels, the adhesive labels that came with these dividers were terrible by comparison. They all peeled up. These thermal labels are actually doing a lot better, but they're not 100% perfect. As you can see down here, there's a little bit of an edge that's detaching, and if you go like this, it'll probably stay fine for many weeks, and then I may come back and see that again. But overall, I haven't had any fall off. I haven't had any curl up beyond that. Most of them haven't even done that. And considering I didn't have to invest in an additional printer, because I don't have a label printer, I thought this was a great idea. It's really, really worked well for me. and I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it. They are also a lightweight enough adhesive that you could just peel it off with no problem whatsoever. Now, I did have a bit of an issue trying this out on something else. Okay, sort of close quarters here, but as I've stated many times on the show, I don't use a receiver in my hi-fi setup. My hi-fi setup is likely very different than yours because my main listening setup is at my desk. I listen to most of my music while I work, and this is just how I enjoy my desk. I sit in a chair, I'm working on something, I've got my best speakers here, all of my components are within arm's reach of here, and it's also, helps when we're, doing live shows and talking about things. But this is the way I enjoy hi-fi, and I do have a much smaller and more humble setup in my living room by my TV that I hardly ever use by comparison. Now, it's opposite of the way most folks listen. Most folks listen in their living room space, and that's just a little bit different for me. And also, I don't use a receiver, so I need some way to switch inputs. And the way I do it is with this mechanical switch. This is one of my two switches. I have another one that's a little bit more component level that sits down in the rack. This one is a just an RCA 4-in-1 switcher, and it's mechanical. It has these click buttons. There's no power supply to this. There's no remote control. The little green thing you see is just a piece of plastic flipping up into a little hole to indicate which one is selected. I got this from my brother, who used this to switch between his game consoles, and he upgraded to something. He's like, hey, do you want this? And I said, yeah, that'd be a great little AV switch. So that's what I use it for. All that to say this, I thought it would be kind of cool to label these inputs, and as you can see, they are peeling up somewhat worse than the dividers that we talked about. This also gives you a chance to see what the residue is like. Let's zoom in on that residue there. Sony camera that I use, a ZV-1 camera, is good for wide shots and medium shots, but it's really not good for macro shots. So sometimes I have to whip out the iPhone if I want to do macro shots. But this one allowed me to do this. This is about a foot from the subject, and it's going to work, so that's good. But if I pull up on this, you can see some of the glue does want to lay back down, although it does finally snap into position at the back of the label as I lift it up. So it doesn't leave any residue, but it's very close to leaving some behind. It doesn't rip off and leave like a sheet of paper, but you can see that the edges are rolled up a little bit. So it's not the most elegant thing. And you're like, why wouldn't you just use a label maker? And that would fix this whole problem. But that wouldn't be as interesting to talk about. So this is odd. This is a show about doing things on the cheap, right? On the very cheap sometimes, or free. So, if we can repurpose something we got laying around the house, then I'm going to talk about it. Now, since I'm talking about that other switch, I thought I would show it since I'm in the vicinity. And this is a good switch. It's better than the other one. It's passive again. It's just sitting on top here. Totally mechanical. There's no anything on there that requires power whatsoever. It's no amplification. It's a solid copper connection from input to output, so it doesn't degrade the audio. You don't lose a generation like you would going through another device. It just works. And yeah, I should put a label on there, like one solid piece going on there. This is like a brushed aluminum. I'd be curious how it adheres to that. I'll have to try that out one of these days. Okay, we're sort of veering off topic here, but this is how my mind works. I kind of go from one thing to the next. So, by the way, this still has the price tag on top of it. I got this for like $3 or $4 at an ARC thrift store, I believe. It works great. You can find amazing things like that somebody's discarded, forgotten about, and here it is working perfectly in my setup. So between those two mechanical switches, I've got all the inputs I need. In fact, one of the inputs on the other mechanical switch is this one. So I pre-select which device I have in the rack, and then it goes to the other switch, which I select as well. Having it all at arm's length means I don't need remote controls. And again, this is all personal, subjective design, and it works for me. It just happens to work for me. All that to say this, I still don't have enough inputs for every single device. And unlike the passive switching that this does, where it's a connection, copper wire connection with no loss, I do have to route some devices through other devices. So this is my internet radio / FM radio, and it does have a slot loading CD player that I never use as well. Good little device, and it fits really nicely in the rack, but I'm out of input. So what do? I'm routing it through my mini disc recorder on the bottom of it. So you can see the VU meter is actually reading the audio that's coming in from the radio. I'm actually playing an SD card right now. It's not streaming at the moment, but it would essentially do the same thing. The audio coming off the air, off the SD card here, going through my mini disc recorder, and that's where the mechanical switch is selected to, so I can hear that on my speakers. Plus, the mini disc recorder has an optical input as well as an analog one, but you're still losing a generation when you go through a device like that. But yeah, there you go. We're way off the topic of labels right now. So at the end of the day, I think it's a good solution. It's not perfect, but it gets the job done. Boy, wouldn't this drive an OCD person nuts? Well, I am OCD, and it does drive me nuts. I've got to fix that, having one facing out and one facing in like that. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk to you about, was this label idea. And I'm curious, as I always am, what you guys would do in this situation. You're like, just buy a label maker. Or if you have any other ideas, would you just take a Sharpie and draw on it? I thought about that too, but wouldn't that be a lot sloppier? I like the kind of clean look of block letters, high contrast. But let me know down in the comments below what you would have done or what you do. Okay, this is a little bit of a bonus shot here. I wanted to throw this in. This video is kind of a hodgepodge anyway. So this is a record I've been looking for quite a while. This is Songs in the Key of Life by Stevie Wonder, 1976. This marks the end of his, I don't think, some kind of era. I forget what they label it. I'm still learning about Stevie Wonder, but kind of like 1973 to 76 was sort of his golden era, as it were. And this is right at the end of it, considered one of the best albums of all time. Many, many artists say that this is like the most influential album in their entire life. Even like Elton John says he doesn't go anywhere without taking this with him. And it's chock full of incredible goodness. I love, love, love this album. I got this for $10 at a record shop the other day, and it just come in. They hadn't priced it. If it hit the shelf, it wouldn't have been around for long. But the guy's like, hey, we just got this. Let me price it real quick. And then he goes, okay, it'll be $50. I'm like, that's a little steep. The records are in good condition, but still, that's a little steep even for this record. So I was going to pass. And he's like, I'm just kidding. It's $10. And I'm like, would you have told me it was $10 if I agreed to the 50? He's like, absolutely. I wouldn't have let you walk out paying that. In fact, he had already put a $10 sticker on there. So this is a double album set, and it originally came with a 7-inch EP in addition to the two 12-inch records. I don't have the EP, so I'm missing 4 of the songs, but this is still an incredible album. This is on Tamla Records, which is an imprint of Motown. So very, very cool, and an interesting story behind this. If you haven't heard this before, I would encourage you to start with 2 songs, I Wish and Sir Duke, and you will recognize those. And also, this is eminently sampled. Everything from Gangster's Paradise to Will Smith has sampled audio from this album. But after you listen to those songs, I want you to go through Isn't She Lovely is another hit from this album. Just listen to the thing in its entirety. Every song is good, even the ones you've never heard of, if you haven't heard of some of these, as was the case with me. Or you're like, oh, that's that song. I know it now. But anyway, I just want to share that with you. $10. That was a really good score. That was my Father's Day gift, and I was very, very glad to receive it. Labels. You know what I mean? You don't think about labels when you get into record collecting. You're never like, oh yeah, and then I'll need a label maker. Or that doesn't even cross your mind when you say, I want to get into records. You know, it's kind of funny. And this hobby is very much like that. There's so many rabbit trails and rabbit holes to go down that you just are like, well, I need storage, I need shelving, I need cleaning stuff, I need, repair stuff, whatever the case may. I need tools, I need this, I need that. It's just, but that's kind of the fun part about it, I think, personally. But if you are setting out to do record players and collect vinyl and all this stuff, you may be a little disenchanted by the fact that you do have to invest in so many other things to make it happen. It's definitely, I wouldn't say the dark side of physical media, because it's not that serious, but the simplicity of tapping streaming on your phone doesn't have any need for tools, storage, cleaning, labels and all that. So there's something to be said about that. But in that moment when we're debating streaming versus physical media, we never take into account all of that stuff. At least I haven't. I hope you thought that was interesting, and I wanted to do a follow-up like I said before. And mostly I just want to say a huge thank you. You probably heard the news. We've got a new channel. Definitely go over and check it out. There'll be links down below and all over the place. That will be our channel called Detour with Recordology, where we do all non-audio related stuff, adventures, roadside attractions, collectibles, and a whole host of other things coming your way. But my friends, that's going to do it for today. So happy record hunting, and we'll see you next time.